Desert Hunter saves alien dragon warrior. That was the Empress's missing guardian.
The red sands of Dusthaven trembled under the force of an explosion that shattered the night's calm. Jake Callahan, a 32-year-old bounty hunter, jolted awake in his makeshift shack, cobbled together from salvaged starship scraps. His combat, knife and plasma pistol clattered to the steel floor as he stumbled to the door, heart pounding like a war drum. Outside, a blazing blue-green streak tore across the star-filled sky, vanishing behind the jagged mountains a few miles from his outpost. "Hell, not again," Jake muttered, raking a hand through his dust-caked hair. Dusthaven, a forgotten desert planet on the galaxy's edge, caught its share of debris from distant space battles. But this streak moved with purpose, too precise for a random meteor. Instincts honed from 3 years as a mercenary kicked in. Jake grabbed his energy rifle, slung a survival pack over his shoulder, and stepped into the night. The air burned with the scent of scorched metal and dry sagebrush. Jake moved fast across the dunes, boots crunching on brittle sand, following a faint wisp of smoke curling above the horizon. He'd chosen Dusthaven to escape his past, a betrayal that saved civilians but cost him his mercenary crew and branded him a fugitive. Solitude was his shield, but tonight something had breached it. Cresting a rocky ridge, Jake froze, breath catching in his throat. No meteor crater awaited him. A sleek, teardrop-shaped craft, shimmering like liquid mercury, sat, half buried in a shallow pit of sand. Its design screamed alien, nothing like the clunky ships of the Human Alliance or their allies. Compact, barely big enough for a pilot and cargo, it radiated advanced tech that made Jake's rifle feel like a toy. "Anyone out there?" Jake called, voice steady, rifle raised as he approached. No markings adorned the hull. A jagged crack split the ship's side, spilling faint green light into the desert. Circling cautiously, Jake's training took over. He scanned for threats, noting a smear of glowing neon green fluid, blood, maybe, on the edge of a pried-open hatch. His gut tightened. Whatever was inside had forced its way out. Swallowing hard, Jake ducked through the breach, rifle sweeping the dim interior. The cockpit flickered with swirling alien symbols, like a cosmic code he couldn't crack. Consoles pulsed with emergency alerts, their hum vibrating in his chest. In the rear cargo hold, a faint hiss broke the quiet, followed by a weak, rattling breath. Jake snapped on his tactical flashlight, its beam cutting through the shadows. What he saw made him lower his rifle instantly. Curled in the corner was a creature, no bigger than a large dog, resembling a dragon from old Earth myths. Its pearlescent scales shifted from blue to silver, catching the light like a prism. Delicate wings, thin as insect membranes, trembled. Against its body, a deep gash on its chest oozed that neon green fluid, and one foreleg bent at a sickening angle. But its eyes, huge, glowing sapphires, locked onto Jake's, radiating fear and defiance. "Easy now," Jake whispered, holstering his pistol. "I'm not here to hurt you." The creature bared needle-sharp teeth, a low growl rumbling from its throat, but the sound faded into a pained whimper. It was young, a juvenile at most, too weak to fight. Jake knelt, opening his pack to pull out a medkit. "You look like you've been through hell," he said, keeping his tone soft. As he reached for the broken leg, a cold jolt surged through his mind, like static from a busted radio. Flashes of a city floating among stars, vast and gleaming, burned behind his eyes. Jake flinched, shaking his head to clear the vision. "What was that?" he muttered, glancing at the creature. Its sapphire eyes held his, unblinking, as if searching his soul. Moving slowly, Jake wrapped a splint around the leg, expecting a snap or claw. None came. The creature watched, tense but still, its breathing shallow. As he secured the bandage, that strange jolt hit again, stronger this time. A voice, faint and feminine, echoed in his skull. "Help me! The enemy draws near." Jake froze, heart racing. "Who's there?" he demanded, scanning the hold. No answer came, but the creature's gaze never wavered. Was it talking to him? In his head? The desert night pressed in, heavy with questions. Who was chasing this thing? And why could Jake hear its voice in his mind? Jake's boots crunched on the sand as he carried the alien creature back to his shack, its weight surprising for such a small frame. The dragon-like being, wrapped in his spare jacket, trembled against his chest, its neon-green blood staining the fabric. Behind them, the wrecked ship erupted in a fireball, courtesy of a plasma grenade from Jake's mercenary days. No trace of alien tech could remain. Dusthaven's isolation was his sanctuary, and he wasn't about to let colonial patrols, or worse, bounty hunters, snoop around. Inside the shack, Jake set the creature on a workbench cluttered with tools and spare parts. Under the harsh glow of a solar lamp, its pearlescent scales shimmered, shifting from blue to silver. Those sapphire eyes tracked his every move, sharp and unnervingly intelligent. "You're gonna be okay," Jake said, more to himself than the creature. As he prepped his medkit, he cleaned the chest wound, wincing at the depth of the gash, and reinforced the splint on its broken leg. The creature didn't flinch, just watched. Its breathing steadier now. Jake stepped back, wiping sweat from his brow. "What are you?" he muttered. The creature's scales caught the light, almost hypnotic. He'd seen plenty of weird fauna on frontier worlds, but nothing like this. It wasn't just an animal. Those eyes held a spark, something human-like, or beyond. He shook his head, trying to focus. Dusthaven was supposed to be his escape, a place to bury the guilt of betraying his mercenary crew to save a civilian outpost. Yet here he was, playing nurse to an alien. As he packed away the medkit, a cold pulse hit his mind again, sharper than before. Images flashed, towering spires floating in a starry void, winged figures soaring through clouds of light, and a regal presence with eyes like molten gold. Jake staggered, grabbing the workbench for support. "What the hell?" he gasped. The creature's gaze locked on his, unwavering. That voice, feminine, clear, spoke in his head. "I am Aether. Thank you, human." Jake's pulse raced. "You're talking in my brain." He pointed at the creature, half expecting it to answer aloud. It didn't, but its head tilted, almost nodding. "Okay, Aether," he said, testing the name. "What are you? Why are you here?" Another mental pulse, softer this time, carried fragments of meaning. Aether was a draconis, a warrior of an ancient race, protector of Queen Elarion. She'd fled a deadly ambush, her ship sabotaged, crashing on Dusthaven to escape. "Something. Slow down," Jake said, rubbing his temples. Telepathy wasn't in his skill set. He'd dealt with smugglers, assassins, even rogue AIs, but a mind-talking dragon? That was new. "You're saying you're on the run. From who?" Aether's eyes narrowed, her wings twitching. The next pulse brought a name, Blackstar Council, and a sense of dread so heavy Jake's chest tightened. Whoever they were, they wanted Aether dead. "Look, I'm no hero," Jake said, pacing the cramped shack. "I help you. I'm painting a target on my back." Aether's gaze softened, almost pleading. Another image flickered in his mind. A vast fleet of ships, burning in a cosmic void. "All right, fine," he grumbled. "You stay here, heal up. Then we figure out your next move." He didn't know why he agreed. Maybe it was the guilt from his past, or maybe those sapphire eyes stirred something he'd buried long ago. As Jake rigged a makeshift bed for Aether from old cargo blankets, his scanner beeped, shrill and urgent. He froze, checking the screen. A faint energy signature pulsed in the desert, 10 miles out, moving closer. Aether's head snapped up, her scales flaring bright. Her voice echoed in his mind, sharp with fear. "They've found me. The hunters are here." Jake's hand went to his rifle, eyes darting to the door. The Blackstar Council, or whatever hunted Aether, was closing in. What had he just gotten himself into? Jake's scanner screeched, its red alert light pulsing in the dim shack. The energy signature, 10 miles out and closing fast, wasn't some stray prospector's rig. It was precise, military grade, and alien. Aether, curled on the workbench, flared her pearlescent scales, her sapphire eyes wide with panic. Her voice cut through Jake's mind, sharp and urgent. "Korath, he's here. We must move now." "Who's Korath?" Jake hissed, slinging his energy rifle over his shoulder and grabbing his survival pack. Aether's telepathic pulse flooded his head with fragmented images. A towering draconis warrior, half machine, with crimson eyes and claws like steel blades. Once her friend, now a traitor serving the Blackstar Council. "Great," Jake muttered, checking the scanner. "A cyborg dragon's hunting us. Just my luck." He scooped Aether into his arms, her small frame trembling but warm against his chest. "Stay quiet," he whispered, easing open the shack's door. The Dusthaven night stretched vast and starlit, the desert air thick with the scent of dry earth and ozone. Jake's boots sank into the sand as he sprinted toward a nearby dune, keeping low. Years as a mercenary had taught him how to vanish, and he'd need every trick to outrun this Korath. "We head for the ruins," Jake said, glancing at Aether. "Old mining town, 10 clicks west. Plenty of cover." Her eyes flicked in acknowledgement, her telepathic voice steady despite her fear. "I trust you, Jake. Teach me your ways." He smirked, despite the tension. Lesson 1. Don't get caught. They moved through the dunes, Jake's senses on high alert. He showed Aether how to step lightly, avoiding loose sand that could betray their tracks. Her wings tucked tight. She mimicked his crouch, surprisingly agile for a wounded creature. As they crested a ridge, Jake paused, risking a glance at the scanner. The signature was closer, 5 miles now, moving like a predator stalking prey under the shadow of a rock. "Outcrop?" Jake set Aether down, catching his breath. "All right, talk," he said, keeping his voice low. "What's Korath want with you?" Aether's telepathic response came with a rush of emotion. Grief, betrayal. She shared a memory. Korath laughing with her under a sky of floating cities, then turning cold, his body augmented with Blackstar tech. "He hunts the memory crystal," she said. "It holds secrets they'd kill to possess." Jake's jaw tightened. "That thing you mentioned before? What's it do?" Aether hesitated, her eyes darting to the horizon. "It's power and truth. I'll show you, but not here." Before Jake could press, a distant hum vibrated the air. A ship's engines, cloaked but closing fast. "Time's up," he said, hoisting Aether. "We're gone." They reached the ruins at dawn, a sprawl of crumbling hab-domes and R. Stuart Little, eaten by decades of sandstorms. Jake set Aether in a shadowed alcove, scanning the horizon. "Stay put," he whispered. "I'll scout." Aether nodded, her scales dimming to blend with the stone. Jake crept through the ruins, rifle ready, eyes on the sky. The place was a graveyard of rusted machinery and shattered dreams, perfect for hiding. Halfway through a collapsed hangar, Jake froze. A faint glow pulsed from a buried console, alien symbols flickering. He brushed away sand, heart racing. The tech matched Aether's ship, Draconis. Before he could investigate, a sonic boom shattered the quiet. A sleek black craft, spiked with weapons, roared overhead, its engines kicking up a dust cloud. Jake dove behind a wall, pulse hammering. Korath had found them. The ship hovered, scanning the ruins with red beams. Aether's voice hit his mind, desperate. "He senses the crystal. We can't hide long." Jake gripped his rifle, mind racing. The console's glow intensified as If calling to Aether. What was it? A weapon? A beacon? And why was Korath ready to torch an entire town to get it? Jake crouched behind the crumbled wall, the alien console's glow casting eerie shadows across the ruined hangar. Above, Korath's black ship prowled the sky, its red scanning beams slicing through the Dusthaven dawn. Aether's telepathic voice trembled in Jake's mind. The crystal draws him. We're out of time. Her small form huddled in the alcove, scales flickering nervously. Jake's grip tightened on his energy rifle. They needed a plan. Fast. He glanced at the console, its draconess symbols pulsing like a heartbeat. That thing, Jake whispered, nodding toward it. Can it help us? Aether's sapphire eyes darted to the device, a flicker of hope in her gaze. It's a data vault, she projected. It holds knowledge of my people. Maybe answers. Jake crawled to the console, keeping low as the ship's hum grew louder. He brushed sand from the controls, revealing a slot that matched the shape of a crystal Aether had mentioned. Show me, Jake said, beckoning her. Aether limped over, wincing from her wounds, but moving with purpose. She pressed a claw to the console, and a soft chime echoed. The device whirred, projecting a holographic display of star maps and schematics. Jake's breath caught. The memory crystal, a glowing orb in the hologram, wasn't just a data drive. It was a blueprint for a weapon capable of vaporizing fleets. Holy hell, he muttered. No wonder they want you dead. Aether's voice grew grave. It's more than a weapon. It's our history, our soul. Before she could explain, the hangar shook. Korath's ship fired a plasma bolt, blasting a nearby dome to rubble. Jake tackled Aether behind a steel beam as debris rained down. He's done playing, Jake growled, peering through the dust. The ship descended, its hatch opening to reveal Korath, half draconess, half machine, his crimson eyes glowing like hellfire. Jake! Aether's cry pierced his mind as Korath charged, claws extended. Jake fired his rifle, but the energy bolts sparked harmlessly against Korath's armored hide. The cyborg lunged, slashing Jake's shoulder. Pain seared through him, blood soaking his jacket. He stumbled, vision blurring, but Aether's telepathic scream jolted him upright. I won't let you die. Something shifted. Aether's scales blazed, her body expanding in a burst of light. Wings unfurled, massive and radiant, as she transformed into a full-grown draconess, 30 feet of shimmering power. Her roar shook the ruins, sending Korath skidding back. Jake gaped, frozen, as Aether's tail lashed, smashing Korath into a wall. Claws raked his armor, sparks flying. With a final swipe, she hurled him into his ship, which sputtered and crashed into a dune. Aether collapsed, shrinking back to her juvenile form, scales dim and breath ragged. Jake staggered to her side, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. You okay? He asked, voice hoarse. She nodded weakly, her telepathic voice faint. I borrowed strength. Won't last. Jake patched his wound with a medkit, mind reeling. That power. She was no ordinary creature. Their connection deepened, a warm pulse in Jake's chest. He felt Aether's fear, her resolve, even a flicker of her pain. You're incredible, he said, helping her stand. But the victory was short-lived. Distant engines roared. Human ships, not draconess. Jake's scanner lit up, detecting a mercenary fleet from the human alliance drawn by the explosion. They're after you, Jake said, jaw tight. Probably want to cage you for science. Aether's eyes met his, fierce despite her exhaustion. We fight together, she projected. Jake nodded, slinging his rifle. Damn right. But, as they prepared to move, Jake's mind flashed with a vision. Not Aether's, but his own. He saw himself soaring through stars, wings at his back. He blinked, heart racing. What was that? He whispered. Aether's voice trembled. The crystal. It's not just a weapon. It holds our essence. What did that mean? And why was Jake dreaming as if he were Draconus? The roar of mercenary ships echoed across the Dusthaven ruins, their searchlights cutting through the dawn haze. Jake hoisted Aether, her small Draconus form limp from exhaustion, and sprinted through the crumbling mining town. Her scales, once vibrant, flickered dully against his chest. "Hang on," he whispered, dodging a collapsed beam. His shoulder throbbed from Korath's attack, but the adrenaline kept him moving. The Human Alliance mercenaries weren't here for salvage. They wanted Aether, and Jake wasn't about to let them take her. "We need a ship," Jake said, scanning the horizon. "Best bet's Jericho, a smuggler's den 20 clicks south. They've got parts, maybe a ride off this rock." Aether's sapphire eyes fluttered, her telepathic voice weak but steady. "I trust you, Jake. Keep me hidden." He nodded, tucking her inside his jacket. Her warmth against his chest felt oddly grounding, like a tether in a storm. The trek through the desert was brutal, the sun baking the red sand into a shimmering furnace. Jake taught Aether to conserve energy, showing her how to breathe shallow and step light to avoid heat stroke. She listened, mimicking his moves despite her injuries. Their telepathic bond pulsed, letting Jake sense her determination and a flicker of guilt. "Why the long face?" he asked, pausing under a rock overhang. Aether's voice brushed his mind, heavy with sorrow. "I brought this danger to you, my queen. I failed her." Jake crouched, meeting her gaze. "Hey, you crashed. Here fighting for her. That's not failure. Besides, I'm no stranger to trouble." He flashed a grin, hoping to ease her. "Stick with me. We'll get you back to her." Aether's eyes softened, a faint glow returning to her scales. By dusk, Jericho's neon lights flickered into view, a ramshackle town of salvaged hab units and black market stalls. Jake pulled his hood up, hiding Aether beneath his jacket. The streets buzzed with smugglers, bounty hunters, and drifters, the air thick with the smell of fuel and grilled synth meat. Jake navigated the crowd, heading for a repair bay run by Lena, a former squad mate from his mercenary days. They'd parted on bad terms. She'd loved him. He'd chosen exile, but she was his best shot. Lena stood in the bay, barking orders at mechanics, her dark hair tied back and a plasma wrench in hand. She spotted Jake and froze, eyes narrowing. "Callahan, thought you were dead." Her gaze flicked to the bulge under his jacket. "What's that?" Jake kept his tone casual. "Need a ship patched up, Lena. Can you help?" She crossed her arms, skeptical. "Depends. You bringing trouble?" Before Jake could answer, Aether's telepathic voice flooded his mind, urgent. "Tell her the truth. She's loyal." Jake hesitated, then unzipped his jacket, revealing Aether's shimmering form. Lena's jaw dropped. "What the hell is that?" she whispered. "Her name's Aether," Jake said. "She's Draconus, on the run. I need your help to keep her safe." Lena stared, then nodded slowly. "Get inside. Fast." In the repair bay, Aether shared a memory through their bond. A blazing attack on a Draconus fleet, her queen's ship, vanishing in flames. "Betrayal!" Aether projected. "Someone inside our ranks sold us out." Jake's gut twisted. Treachery was a language he knew too well. Lena patched a junked skiff, promising it'd fly, but her eyes kept darting to Aether. "This thing's worth a fortune," she muttered. "You sure you can handle it?" The bay shook as a sonic boom ripped through Jericho. Korath's black ship descended, its weapons tearing into the town. Screams erupted outside, stalls exploding into flames. Jake grabbed his rifle, Aether's voice sharp in his mind. "He's back. We must flee." Lena pointed to a canyon beyond the town, littered with shipwrecks. "Hide there. I'll stall." "Him." Jake nodded, but as he and Aether bolted for the exit, a massive Draconus wreck in the canyon glowed faintly, as if waking. Aether's eyes widened. "It's calling me," she projected. Was it salvation or a trap? Jake's hands gripped the controls of the Draconus ship, its sleek cockpit humming with energy. The vessel, buried for centuries in Dusthaven's canyon, had roared to life when Aether inserted the memory crystal into its core. Now it streaked through the desert sky, leaving Jericho's burning ruins behind. Aether perched beside him, her pearlescent scales glowing faintly, her sapphire eyes fixed on the starry void beyond the viewport. "We're clear," Jake said, exhaling. "For now." The ship's interior shimmered like polished opal, its curves alien yet intuitive. Aether's telepathic voice brushed Jake's mind, steady despite her wounds. "This is Vanguard, a scout craft of my people. It will take us to Skyhaven, where Queen Elarion fights." Jake glanced at the console, where holographic star maps pulsed. "Skyhaven, huh? Sounds like a hell of a trip." Aether's eyes flickered with amusement. "You'll see wonders." "Jake," a synthetic voice interrupted, calm and resonant. "Course set for Skyhaven. ETA, 6 hours. I am Vanguard, custodial AI. Welcome, sacred warrior." Jake jumped, nearly dropping the controls. "This thing talks?" Aether's telepathic chuckle warmed his mind. "Vanguard guides us. Trust it," Jake muttered. "Trusting AIs got me in trouble before, but sure." He adjusted the throttle, marveling at the ship's responsiveness. It felt alive, like an extension of his will. As they entered orbit, Jake stole a glance at Aether. Her wounds were healing fast, but exhaustion lingered in her slumped wings. "You need rest," he said, digging through his pack for a ration bar. He tossed her one, grinning. "Try this. Better than synth meat." Aether sniffed the bar, then spat it out, her face twisting. "Human food is vile," she projected, sparking a laugh from Jake. "Picky dragon," he teased. The moment eased, the tension, their bond pulsing with quiet comfort. Aether shifted, sharing a telepathic memory. Draconis warriors dancing in a sky of floating spires, their wings casting rainbows. "Our culture thrived on unity," she said. "Skyhaven is its heart." Jake nodded, his own past surfacing. "I had a crew once, family almost. Lost 'em when I chose civilians over a paycheck." Aether's eyes met his, soft with understanding. "You chose honor. That's why I trust you." Vanguard's voice cut in. "Incoming transmission. Source. Korath." A hologram flickered, showing the cyborg Draconis, his crimson eyes blazing. "Sacred warrior, you cannot hide. Skyhaven will fall, and the crystal is mine." The feed cut out. Jake's jaw tightened. "He's got a real obsession with you." Aether's scales flared. "He was my brother in arms. Now he serves the Blackstar Council's greed." Jake's mind buzzed with their bond, sharper now. He tested it, focusing on Aether's perspective. Suddenly, he saw through her eyes. Stars. Sharper. Colors vivid. The ship's energy like a living pulse. "Whoa!" he gasped, snapping back. "I saw what you see." Aether's voice held awe. "Our bond grows. You wield Draconis sight now." Jake smirked. "Guess I'm part dragon. Let's use it to kick Korath's ass." Vanguard chimed, displaying Skyhaven's coordinates, a massive city adrift in a nebula. Jake plotted the course, but Aether's telepathic touch grew heavy with worry. "The crystal's power is vast," she said. "It could save my queen, or destroy us." Jake frowned. "Destroy how?" Before she could answer, Vanguard's voice turned urgent. "Warning. Crystal energy unstable. Misuse risks catastrophic. Feedback." Jake's heart raced. The memory crystal glowed brighter in its slot, casting eerie light across the cockpit. Aether's eyes locked on it, her voice a whisper in his mind. "It binds our souls. If we fail, it could claim us both." Jake swallowed, glancing at the stars ahead. Skyhaven was their only hope. But what price would the crystal demand? And why did Vanguard's warning feel like a countdown to doom? The Draconis ship, Vanguard, sliced through the void, its pearlescent hull glinting against a sea of stars. Jake Callahan gripped the controls, his eyes darting between the holographic star map and the nebula ahead. Aether perched beside him, her scales pulsing faintly, her sapphire gaze fixed on the glowing memory crystal embedded in the console. Their telepathic bond hummed, a steady warmth in Jake's chest, but tension crackled in the air. Skyhaven was close, yet Korath's threat loomed like a storm. "Vanguard? Any sign of that cyborg bastard?" Jake asked, voice tight. The ship's AI responded, calm and precise. "No contacts detected. Skyhaven remains 2 hours away." Aether's telepathic voice brushed his mind. "Weary, but resolute. Korath won't wait. He knows our path." Jake nodded, checking the weapons panel. The ship's plasma cannons and shield matrix were online, but he'd never fought in space with alien tech. "Guess we'll learn on the job," he muttered. A sudden alert blared, red lights flashing across the cockpit. "Proximity warning," Vanguard announced. "Multiple signatures, bearing 090. Jake's stomach dropped as the viewport revealed a swarm of angular ships, Blackstar Council interceptors, their hulls bristling with missile pods. "Ambush!" he growled, banking Vanguard hard to starboard. Aether's wings twitched, her voice sharp. "They've tracked the crystal. We must break through." The lead interceptor fired, a salvo of plasma bolts streaking toward them. Jake yanked the controls, weaving Vanguard through a field of asteroids. Explosions lit the void, shrapnel pinging off the shields. "Hold on!" he shouted, diving behind a massive rock for cover. Aether focused, her telepathic energy surging into the ship's systems. "I can disrupt their targeting," she projected, her scales glowing brighter. Jake felt her strain through their bond, a pressure in his skull. "Do it," he said, "but don't burn out." Aether's mind pulsed, sending a telepathic wave that scrambled the enemy's sensors. Half the interceptors veered off, firing wildly, but the rest adjusted, closing fast. Jake spun Vanguard out of cover, unloading a barrage from the plasma cannons. 2 ships erupted in fireballs, debris scattering like confetti. "Nice tech," Jake grinned, but Aether slumped, her breathing shallow. "I'm weakening," she admitted. Jake's heart twisted. "Stay with me, Dragon Girl." The comms crackled, and Korath's hologram flickered on screen, his crimson eyes blazing. "You can't save her, human," he snarled. "Skyhaven burns, and the crystal is mine." Jake shot back, "Keep dreaming, tin can." The feed cut, but a larger ship emerged. A Blackstar dreadnought, Korath's flagship. Its cannons locked on, forcing Jake to dive through an asteroid's shadow. "Vanguard, full power to shields," he barked. The AI complied, but the dreadnought's fire grazed their hull, sparking alarms. As Jake evaded another salvo, his comms lit up with an unexpected signal. Lena's voice, strained and urgent, broke through. "Jake, it's me. I sold you out to the Blackstar Council. They threatened Jericho." Jake's blood ran cold, betrayal stinging like a blade. "You what?" he snapped. Lena's tone cracked. "I had no choice. I'm sorry." Aether's telepathic touch steadied him, soft but firm. "She's not the enemy. Focus." Jake clenched his jaw, shoving the hurt aside. "We'll deal with this later, Lena." The dreadnought loomed closer, its weapons charging for a killing shot. Jake's mind raced, their bond with Aether flaring. He saw through her eyes, every asteroid's curve, every enemy's weak point. "Vanguard, target their reactor vents," he said, voice steady. He fired a precise volley, the dreadnought erupting in a blinding explosion. The interceptors scattered, giving Vanguard a clear path. Jake exhaled, but Aether's voice trembled. "Korath's alive." He sent a message to Skyhaven. A hologram flickered, showing Queen Elarion in chains, trapped in an energy cage. Jake's gut churned. "Is that real?" he asked. Aether's eyes darkened. "I feel her pain, but it could be a trap." Skyhaven was minutes away, But was Elarion alive? Or were they flying into Korath's endgame? The Draconis ship Vanguard streaked toward Skyhaven, its pearlescent hull cutting through the nebula's glowing clouds. Jake Callahan steadied the controls, his knuckles white, the memory crystal pulsing like a heartbeat in the console. Aether sat beside him, her scales dim from exhaustion, her sapphire eyes locked on the viewport. The hologram of Queen Elarion in chains haunted their shared bond, a mix of hope and dread pulsing between them. "We're almost there," Jake said, voice low. "Hang tight." Vanguard's AI chimed, calm but urgent. Skyhaven detected. 1 minute out. Hostile signature approaching. Jake's stomach twisted as the scanners lit up. Korath's flagship, a jagged beast bristling with spikes, emerged from the nebula, flanked by 2 sleek fighters. "He's not giving up," Jake muttered, arming the plasma cannons. Aether's telepathic voice, strained but fierce, filled his mind. "Korath wants the crystal. We end this now." The viewport framed Skyhaven, a colossal city of floating spires, glowing with bioluminescent veins, suspended in a cosmic whirl of light. Its beauty stole Jake's breath, but Korath's ships opened fire, plasma bolts grazing Vanguard's shields. Jake juked left, dodging a barrage, and returned fire, shredding 1 fighter. "Vanguard, keep us steady," he barked. The AI complied, but Korath's flagship loomed closer, its weapons locking on. Aether stood, wings trembling. "I must face him," she projected, her scales flaring. Jake grabbed her arm, eyes fierce. "You're half dead already. We do this together." Their bond surged, a shared resolve binding them. Aether nodded, her voice soft. "Together." She focused, telepathic energy flooding the cockpit, boosting Vanguard's shields. Jake felt her strength through their connection, like fire in his veins. Korath's hologram flickered on screen, his crimson eyes burning. "Sacred warrior, you betray our kind with this human," he snarled. Aether's voice rang out, defiant. "You betrayed Elarion." "I carry her truth," Jake cut in. "Save the speech, tin can. Let's dance." The feed died, and Korath's ship charged, unleashing a storm of missiles. Jake dove Vanguard through Skyhaven's outer spires, missiles exploding against the city's shields. Aether's scales glowed brighter, her body shifting. In a burst of light, she transformed, 30 feet of radiant Draconis, wings blazing like comets. She launched from the airlock, claws extended, and slammed into Korath's flagship. Jake tracked her through their bond, seeing her tear through the hull, sparks flying. "That's my dragon," he grinned, firing at the remaining fighter. To cover her, Korath met Aether in open space, his cyborg claws clashing with hers. Their battle was a blur of light and steel, shockwaves rippling through the nebula. Jake felt Aether's pain, a slash across her flank, but also her memories, training with Korath, laughing under starry skies. "Brother, stop this," she projected, her voice breaking. Korath faltered, his crimson eyes flickering. Jake seized the moment, landing a plasma shot on the flagship's engines. Aether pinned Korath, claws at his throat. "See the truth," she urged, sharing a telepathic flood of Elarion's betrayal by the Blackstar Council. Korath roared, then slumped, his fight gone. "I was blind," he rasped. As Aether released him, he turned, diving into the damaged fighter, ramming it into Korath's flagship. The explosion lit up Skyhaven, clearing the path. Aether reverted to her juvenile form, drifting back to Vanguard. Barely conscious, Jake caught her, heart pounding. "You did it," he whispered, cradling her. Vanguard docked at Skyhaven's central spire, but the city was eerily quiet. Jake carried Aether into a vast chamber, expecting Elarion. Instead, a hologram flickered. Elarion's voice, faint. Sacred warrior, the crystal holds my essence. Activate it, or all is lost. Jake froze, ether stirring in his arms. She's not here. Ether projected, voice trembling. But I feel her. The crystal glowed brighter, its light bathing the chamber. Was Elarion alive, trapped in the crystal? Or was this another Blackstar trick? Jake Callahan stepped into Skyhaven's central chamber, ether cradled in his arms, her pearlescent scales dim against his chest. The vast hall shimmered with bioluminescent veins, its towering spires pulsing like a living heart. The memory, crystal, glowing in Jake's pack, cast eerie light across the floor. Ilarion's hologram flickered above a crystalline pedestal, her regal voice echoing, "Sacred warrior, activate the crystal. My essence waits." Jake's gut churned. Something felt off. Ether stirred, her sapphire eyes fluttering open. "She's here," she projected, voice weak but certain. "I feel her." Jake set her down gently, scanning the chamber. No guards, no queen, just the hologram and an unnerving quiet. "Vanguard. Status," he called. The ship's AI, linked through his comms, responded. "No hostiles detected. Crystal energy rising." The crystal's glow intensified, vibrating with power. Jake approached the pedestal, ether limping beside him. "What's this activation deal?" he asked, eyeing the hologram. Ilarion's image spoke. "The memory crystal holds my consciousness, bound to save Draconis. Insert it, sacred warrior, to restore me." Ether's telepathic voice trembled. "It's her, but the cost." Jake frowned. "Cost?" Ether's eyes met his, heavy with fear. "Activating it could drain my life. Maybe yours, through our bond." "Hell no!" Jake snapped, stepping back. "We're not sacrificing you." Ether's wings twitched, her resolve firm. "Elarion is my queen. Draconis needs her." Their bond pulsed, her determination flooding Jake's chest. He clenched his fists, torn. "There's got to be another way." Before Ether could argue, the chamber shook, alarms blaring. Vanguard's voice cut through. "Blackstar Council ships inbound. Breach imminent." Jake cursed, slinging his rifle. "They don't quit." Through the chamber's viewport, he saw a swarm of interceptors, their plasma cannons firing at Skyhaven's shields. Ether staggered to the pedestal, claws gripping the crystal. "I must do this," she projected. Jake grabbed her shoulder. "We do it together. Or not at all." Their bond flared, a shared strength binding them tighter than ever. The chamber's doors exploded inward, Blackstar shock troops pouring in, their rifles blazing. Jake dove behind a spire, returning fire with precise shots, dropping 2 soldiers. Ether channeled telepathic energy, deflecting a barrage with a shimmering barrier. "Insert the crystal," she urged. Jake sprinted to the pedestal, dodging plasma bolts, and slammed the crystal into its slot. The chamber erupted in light, a shockwave knocking the troops back. Ether's scales blazed, her body trembling as she linked with the crystal. Jake felt her life force fading, a cold void in their bond. "No!" he roared, reaching for her. Their connection surged, and Jake poured his own strength into her, his vision blurring with stars. He saw through Ether's eyes Ilarion's essence, a radiant figure emerging from the crystal. The chamber quaked, the light coalescing into a towering Draconis queen, wings unfurling like a dawn. Ilarion's golden eyes opened, her presence commanding. The Blackstar troops froze, then fled as Skyhaven's defenses reactivated, shredding their ships outside. Ether collapsed, her scales dull. Jake caught her, heart pounding. "You're okay," he whispered, relief flooding him. Elarion stepped forward, her gaze piercing. "Sacred warrior, you've fulfilled your duty," she said, then turned to Jake. "Human, you should not exist in our plan." Jake stiffened, Aether stirring in his arms. "What's that mean?" he demanded. Ilarion's expression softened, but her voice held an edge. "Your bond defies our laws. It changes everything." Aether's telepathic voice, faint but fierce, reached him. "He saved us, my queen." Elarion studied them, her wings folding. "Perhaps," she said, "humanity holds more than we believed." The chamber's glow faded, Skyhaven stabilizing. But Ilarion's words hung heavy. Would she honor their bond, or tear them apart to preserve Draconis tradition? And what new threat lingered, now that the crystal's power was unleashed? Jake Callahan stood in Skyhaven's central chamber, Aether steady at his side, her pearlescent scales gleaming under the bioluminescent glow. Queen Elarion loomed before them, her golden eyes assessing, wings folded like a regal cloak. The memory, crystal, now dark in its pedestal, had restored her, but her words still echoed. Jake's bond with Aether defied Draconis law. He squared his shoulders, rifle slung low, ready for whatever came next. "So, what's the verdict?" he asked, voice firm. Ilarion's gaze softened, a faint smile touching her scaled lips. "You saved my sacred warrior, and my people, human," she said. "Your bond, unnatural as it is, proves humanity's worth." She extended a clawed hand. "I name you honored warrior, bridge between Draconis and your kind." Jake hesitated, then clasped her hand, the gesture sealing a pact. Aether's telepathic warmth flooded his mind. "You earned this, Jake." The chamber hummed as Skyhaven's systems stabilized, its spires pulsing with renewed life. Elarion turned to Aether. "Sacred warrior, you've carried our hope. Train others in this bond's power." Aether bowed, her wings fluttering. "I will, my queen." Jake felt her. Pride through their connection, a glow that matched the city's light. But Ilarion's earlier warning lingered. Change was coming, and not all Draconis would welcome it. Weeks later, Dusthaven's red sands bustled with activity. Jake's shack was gone, replaced by a sprawling outpost where Draconis and human engineers worked side by side. Shuttles landed daily, bringing scientists, pilots, and diplomats from the Human Alliance. Jake, now a reluctant figurehead, oversaw training drills, his rifle swapped for a tablet. Aether, fully healed, led telepathic exercises, her scales flashing, as she guided young humans and Draconis in harnessing their bonds. One afternoon, a familiar figure approached. Lena, her dark hair tied back, eyes wary. "Jake," she said, voice low, "I owe you." Her betrayal in Jericho stung, but Jake waved it off. "You made it right by coming here," he said. Lena nodded, joining a team repairing a Draconis shuttle. Aether's voice teased in his mind. "You forgive too easily." Jake smirked. "Says the dragon who spared Korath." As dusk fell, Jake and Aether climbed a Dusthaven hill, the outpost's lights twinkling below. The three moons cast overlapping shadows, and their bond pulsed, a blue-green glow emanating from their joined presence. "Never thought I'd miss this desert," Jake said, gazing at the stars. Aether's sapphire eyes met his, her telepathic, voice warm. "It's home now, for both of us." Jake chuckled. "Yeah, from exile to celebrity. Who'd have guessed?" Ilarion's shuttle landed nearby, her regal form emerging. "You've built a bridge, honored warrior," she said, her tone proud. "Our peoples grow stronger together." Jake nodded, feeling Aether's joy through their bond. "Just doing what's right, your majesty." Ilarion's eyes twinkled. "A human trait we've underestimated." A Human Alliance ship descended, its hull marked with diplomatic insignia. Jake tensed. Earth's council wasn't known for playing nice. "First envoys," Aether projected, sensing his unease. "A new era begins." Jake squeezed her clawed hand, their bond a steady anchor. "With you here, I'm not worried," he said. She nudged him, playful. Good. You'd be lost without me. As the envoy's ramp lowered, Jake's mind flashed to their journey from a crashed ship to this moment. Thought this desert would bury me, he said, voice soft. Turns out, it gave me the universe. Aether's glow brightened, their connection a beacon in the night. But as they watched the stars, a faint telepathic hum stirred in Aether's mind, distant and strange. Something calls, she projected, eyes narrowing. Another Draconis, lost out there. Jake's pulse quickened, his hand brushing his rifle's grip. Trouble? He asked. Aether's voice held a spark of curiosity. Maybe adventure. The outpost hummed below, a new world rising. But what waited in the void? Another ally or a threat to their fragile alliance?